Right, now we're gonna switch to English because we got Joe from Teraflex with us.
Hello.
Joe came to visit us at Camp Jeep 2025, and he just came back from trail. How was it?
It was fantastic. I loved it.
Can you elaborate a little bit to what kind of vehicle you are sitting in?
I was sitting in a very rare 392 here
Not that rare.
in Poland. It was fantastic. I liked the trail because it was technical. And it was a bit of a challenge of, we had to go a certain way. We had to get a picture of the sign with a number on it. And it was definitely playing the bottom in some bogs and mud. And that would seem to be a little bit challenging for some of the vehicles.
Is it any different to what you have in normal day and out in Utah?
Utah, we don't have mud.
Yeah, I know that.
We don't have mud. We don't have mud like yours where it's concrete. No, for Utah it is mostly Moab type where it is dry.
Red rock basically, yeah.
Red rock, you definitely don't get on it when it's wet or cold because then it's very slick. That's why they call it Slickrock. But otherwise, yeah, Utah is more of a desert state.
So is there any events in the US that would have similar conditions to what you saw today?
Probably more on the East Coast.
East Coast.
In the East Coast, they do a lot more of the rock bouncers, or they're playing in the trees that in the forest areas, and it's mostly like our Southeast where it's more wet. That's where you'd probably see more of this type of the same thing.
Yeah, but the Recon Trail on the other end, like Nevada, it's more like your side, Utah, or more like completely other thing.
Like the Rubicon is more up in the high Sierra. It's more like trees, and you're dealing with large boulders, and you're stuck on the trail. You can't deviate, so you have to go a certain direction.
Okay.
So very, very controlled, very scenic though.
So having seen how we do off-roading here in Europe, would you change anything or you give any recommendation for guys that are entering this world and want to modify this vehicle? What would be the top 3 things that they should think about before joining an event like this?
Knowing what the trails are like today, I would suggest that a small lift, a little bit more aggressive tires, definitely have, I guess a winch is fantastic, or having a tow strap on the front of the vehicle before you even start. So that way you're not trying to dig underneath the mud, find a D-ring and put the tow strap in there. We witnessed that today, so it'd be great to have your tow strap or you're ready. But definitely a little bit of a lift. Shocks would be great, but just a small lift.
I know what you're referring to. Bottoming down the suspension and
some speed bumps would be great, I think,
yeah,
for some
exactly.
of the vehicles.
That's what I thought, yeah.
When you're hitting hard in the bottom, then instead of being that hard stop, all the energy is just stopping immediately. With the speed bump, then it's a more controlled, you don't bottom out hard. It actually translates to you're able to drive faster than normal,
yeah,
because it smooths out the ride.
So no crazy lifts, no long arms, just a little bit of lift, so it can accommodate 35s, probably with some relatively aggressive thread and speed bumps. Yeah, I thank you for mentioning that. That's one of our recommendations for our customers. If you increase the weight of your driveline or the axle and the wheels, you have to remember that you have to adjust the bump stops to the height of the tire. Plus, you have to think about the weight of the tire, weight of the whole wheel. The stock bump stops, they cannot stop the wheel. They're gonna just disappear after second or third hit.
Yep, and you also got to think about like all the weight of the passengers in the rear, all your supplies in the back. When you're hitting something bottom, that weight magnifies quite a bit, so you want to prevent that hard bottoming out. Another cheap thing is you get some Teraflex wheels with the deflators built into them, so you can just quickly deflate there at the trailhead. You don't have to wait for anybody. And taking a little air out of tires with the mud that'll help you get some better grip. Instead of when your tires are running at street pressure, you do it for clearance, but if your tires get a wider contact patch, then you get more traction. So, but otherwise, even a stock vehicle would work fantastic here, but there's just a few little things you add and it'd just be so much nicer.
Exactly.
You're taking more mud, you're taking less mud home with you.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. I was going to ask you about the skid plates. Polish people are all about skid plates. They install a lot of skid plates, and I always tell them, guys, if you plan to drive in the conditions you just saw, skid plates doesn't do a thing for you. You have to protect your axles with the differential covers, because you can hit unexpected
on a log or
obstacle or whatever is hidden in the mud. But the skid plates are basically collecting all the mud, and you carry that back home. It doesn't do anything for you, but it adds on like 150 pounds of unwanted ballast.
And if you're just in mud, you don't need skid plates. Skid plates are great for rocks like Moab, but you know, I mean, you brought up a good point. You have the skid plates, and all you're doing is scooping up all that mud, and then you add weight, so you lost some height, and then all that heat is is not escaping because it's just trapped in the mud. So now you're making other things could possibly cause failure, and then you're going to be underneath there for hours, clean it up, and you never get all the mud out. It never comes out. It just comes home with you.
That's true. The last question, I know that you're tired, and because of the jet lag and everything, I don't want to really be the guy that keeps you awake.
You're good.
But one of the mostly asked question is, what should I do? I bought a new vehicle. Should I go with the spacer lift kit and extension for the shocks, factory shocks, or I should go for the proper, we say proper kit with the springs tuned to the shocks and the shocks that are like a design for the increased wheel weight and basically different use scenario?
That's a good question. I generally tell people to take their Jeep out first and go play with it. Then decide what level do you want to commit to. You want to just there's nothing wrong with a budget boost kit with shock extensions. But once you start adding like bumpers and winches, that's when you really need to pay attention to what you have for suspension, and you want to change out those factory coils so they can maintain the height and the control. And that's where you need to go a little bit further and get a more complete kit. There are some of the kits where you can do it in small stages, a track bar here, front lower control arms here, but it's better to go with something that's all designed 100% to work with each other, all the parts. Instead of mixing brands, then you have something there's no proof, no engineering that says it's going to work. So it's better to go with a more complete kit, and then you'll be done with it, but you're never done with it.
Thank you, Joe, for spending a minute with us. Thank you for visiting us.
Happy to do it.
Such a
Glad
nice
to be
pleasure.
here.
Always pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.